Dear students, good evening. Welcome to Law Excellence IAS. Let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 29th October 2020. The first article is Countering Deepfakes, the most serious AI threat. What are these deepfakes? These are digital files created using artificial intelligence. They mimic the real files and they try to manipulate an individual or public on the other side. Let me put it simple this way. If someone manipulates my voice and my presence and demands money from you, then I am cheated and you are also cheated. So this is a classical example of extortion using the deep fakes. How these deep fakes are going to affect us, let us see. The most important thing is polarization of the people into groups. Let me put it this way. Today in social media, you see one news which you like, and social media suggests those kind of news regularly to you. Because of these recommendations, you are expected to experience only one set of views. Obviously, your mind gets polarized. This is what we call it as echo chamber. Second, loss of privacy. How it can be? Let us see. Today, a famous heroine, her pictures are morphed and put onto pornography channels. This is an intimidation, loss of dignity, and loss of reputation and privacy to that particular woman. And then, most important damage is going to happen to the institutions. Let me put it this way. And fabricated evidence can be created using these deep fakes because of the courts can give a wrong judgment. So once the justice is lost, the democratic institutions are expected to suffer. It means institutions of justice, media, everything are expected to lose their legitimacy once these deep fakes becomes norm of the day. Finally, liar's dividend. Let me put it this way. When people are unable to know what is fact and what is a lie, everything they start suspecting. Obviously, the liar has a benefit of doubt, or liar has an advantage of benefit of doubt. This is what we call it as liar's dividend. And it is going to pose challenge to internal security also, because the speed with which these deep fakes spread is enormous. Our security establishment needs certain reaction time to face this. In the meanwhile, the damage that can happen is enormous. We have seen that in the case of various accidents or various issues that have happened all around India recently. Now, what is the way forward? First, people should be given media literacy. It means what is right, wrong, not to believe everything you listen or see. This kind of media literacy is important. And individuals also has to practice self-restraint on social media. It means stop, think and pause before you forward something to another person. First suspect and then believe. Third thing is legal action and regulation. Disincentivization of the creation of fake news is essential. A strong deterrent law is necessary. And platforms also have to take responsibility. What are these platforms? Facebook, Instagram, all these have to take responsibility to detect fake news and to bring them forefront to the people. And finally, authoritative sources of information which can be trusted have to be made available to the citizens to counter verify whatever they listen or see. These are the steps which we can take care or take for this menace. The next is the challenges of walking the Indo-Pacific talk. This article is written in the context of Quad, Indo-Pacific, India-US engagement, ongoing India-China border issue. Let us understand, we are talking about Quad as a very military strategy alliance. Indo-Pacific as politico-economic grouping or vision. In this case, how far is it true? Is Indo-Pacific vision and Quad are they are related to each other without China coming into picture? And if China is a definite variable, let us understand the engagement of the members of Quad with China. If you observe, economically China is deeply connected with all these members. India is nowhere. Let us take the example of Australia itself. India Australia trade is around $30 billion. With China, Australia has a trade of $250 billion. When you go to United States of America, India's trade is around $88 billion, but with China it is more than $737 billion. That clearly shows that China is well engaged with every Quad member, then they engage themselves. That is the first point. And the second most important thing, India is not a part of regional groupings, economic groupings, especially RCEP. And third, free trade agreements with the countries in Indo-Pacific is almost complete for China, and India is no way close to it. Most important point over here is China is building an infrastructure that integrates the region with the country. And added to that, China is also a supplier of major defense equipments to many countries in the region like Indonesia, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Myanmar, etc. That clearly shows that China's engagement with the region is deeper and China has strong institutional establishment for this. So what the author is trying to say is strategic talk alone is not sufficient. What is required is economic realities. We need to take economic realities into consideration. Here, the reality is Quad members are no way close to decouple their economic engagement with China, and it is not going to happen in the near term. In this scenario, Quad, if do not have strong economic engagement, it will be more like a talking club, as China described it as. The next article is Two Together. This is about India US relations. USA is trying to bring China into this dynamic. Remember, India China relations are mostly bilateral, especially territorial disputes or border disputes. These are bilateral disputes. India made it clear to President Trump many a times. In this context, India respects its relations with USA, but India wants to keep its relations with China as bilateral and wants to ensure its strategic autonomy on that matter. The next article is real estate. Yesterday we saw the news that government of India has amended the law to bring in investors to Jammu and Kashmir. Now outsiders can buy land in Jammu and Kashmir. What is the fear of Jammu and Kashmir people? It is not Jammu, Kashmir or Ladakh region. Everyone are opposed for opening the land for the outsiders. First is the demographic re-engineering can happen. The people, localites can be made minority in that particular land. Second thing, once the land is being lost into the investor's hand, then these people will have very little to sustain their livelihoods. So the biggest mistake the central government doing here is not engaging the local people. Neither the political parties nor the people are being engaged. So political parties, discussions and people participation are essential to take forward these initiatives. If not, it can lead to instability and unnecessary violence, which cannot bring in necessary growth for that state. That is what we can put it as. Next, Bihar circulation of elites. Let me ask you a question. In India, power is captured by elites. If you take any state, elite capture of power is a norm. Certain castes and certain communities, these enjoy power over decades, and Bihar is a classical example. If you take the early days when Congress is holding the power in the state, upper caste held the power. And second, after JP movement, socialistic parties gained significance. The politics of social justice have entered the state. OBCs and many middle castes gained the power. And later, the original upper caste who are supportive of Congress, they shifted to BJP now. And they wanted to retake their power back. In this context, the power in India is captured only by certain sections rather than distributed well across the communities. That is what is the point author is trying to say here. Next is victims' account may be more conclusive than medical finding. It is in the context of recent Hathras rape incident. Remember, rape is not a medical diagnosis, it is an offense under law. It means that a doctor cannot say either a rape happened or not. How? When what is doctor can do is any semen or biological particles of the accused are available on the body of the woman. Nothing more he can say. In this context, Supreme Court has clearly stated that either the semen of the accused is available on the body of the victim or not, victim statement has to get primacy. And second thing is the accused shall have the burden of proof for his innocence. That is what Supreme Court stated in Mathura rape case. These are the points you need to take home. Next is 20% rural students lack books. What is the biggest problem of COVID 19? That is learning loss. Why this learning loss is happening? Due to online classes. Because of the digital divide, the online classes are not reaching to the rural areas poor and marginalized. As per ASER annual survey of education report, only 1 in 10 had access to online classes. Second, the basic requirements like study materials are also not available for 20% of the population in India. Next, India Central Asian Republics call for destruction of terror safe havens. If you want to fight terrorism, what you have to do? Destruct their safe havens and infrastructure. That is what India did with surgical strikes. And second thing is terror financing has to be blocked. Third thing is international cooperation, especially with the countries neighbors to you. And finally, drug money also enters into terror that has to be stopped. These are the things which are being discussed in India's relations with Central Asia. The next article is China is a predator, Pompeo tells Sri Lanka. Remember, China's debt trap diplomacy is very much in the news recently. And Sri Lanka is stated to be one of the victims. Colombo port, Hambantota port, these are cited as examples. Here, Secretary of State Mr. Pompeo advises Sri Lanka to be away from China. But China is providing all kind of debt support, credit support to Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is supposed to pay back $4.5 billion of debt next year, and it is the China which is giving the necessary helping hand. In that context, what Sri Lanka is stating is it is very concerned about its sovereignty and it believes in neutrality in its foreign policy. These are the articles for today. Thank you very much.